Hello, Murray Newlands with Search Engine Journal here at SMX in San Jose with Eric from Stone Temple Consulting.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So in this video, we're going to be looking at strings and things.
Oh my gosh.
What do you mean by that?
That's a good question. The way search used to work is it used to be based on strings. And what I mean by that is that Google was really good at looking at the words on a page and seeing what words there were and how they occurred together. So they might see a phrase like Atlanta Falcons if you're into a football team, or it might see Chicago used cars or something like that. And Google would try to match those kinds of things up with user search queries. So it was very dependent on the language that it found on the page.
Right.
But with things, you have a further evolution going on. So I'm from the Boston area, and I love football, so that makes me a New England Patriots fan. And Google, when it sees New England Patriots, understands a lot more about it. They actually know that it's a football team and that there's a thing called the National Football League that the Patriots belong to, and that the team has players, and that one of them is Tom Brady, and that they are in a division called the AFC East with other teams like the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. And they understand all those relationships, which takes their ability to do things in search to a whole nother level.
And serve ads, presumably. That's what they're really about.
Yes.
And so can you give me another example of that? How you can see that in practice, and maybe how you could actually see the difference?
So one very simple one that I like to give as an example is if you go to your Google search box and you click on the little microphone icon on the right of the search box, and then you have to speak your search command, and you say, give me pictures of the Eiffel Tower. It will give you that, and that's very simple. But then you can do a follow-on query where you say, how tall is it? And it will actually remember that it refers to the Eiffel Tower, and then give you the answer in a knowledge graph result of however 193 meters or however tall it is. It gives you that data right there, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. And then you can actually, when was it built? And it will answer that question as well. So in this case, it's actually remembering conversational context.
Yes.
And it understands that the Eiffel Tower has height and a construction date. So that's an interesting sequence right there.
So how would this be applicable, this knowledge, and apply that to my content marketing, my content creation?
I think the biggest thing that it really requires you to do is you need to get away from overly mechanical ways of thinking about how you put together your content. You really want to evolve to the point now where you're thinking about comprehensively covering the topic and doing a good job. To some degree, from Google's perspective, what's great about this is a stronger focus on what the user really wants to see.
Yes.
It actually is very helpful in this regard. So now you start doing things like thinking about the persona of the potential people that may come to your site, and how do you address different personas. And when you start doing that stuff very well, I think you're setting yourself up very well for this kind of search.
And presumably different associated needs. That you're going to you're buying a flight, but although you're buying a flight, you're actually traveling somewhere. So not just you want the flight information, you want the travel information, the destination information, things to do there. You're actually really thinking about the consumer in a different way.
Right, and it actually, to some degree, leads you into what Google is trying to do with Google Now, where it literally tries to pre-anticipate your needs based on the context it sees. So it does things like recognize that, oh, you have a flight in 3 hours, and you're in your car at the moment, and it might tell you, Danny Sullivan gave this example yesterday, it might tell you, oh, your flight's delayed by an hour, and then you just turn around and you go back inside. And that's beyond just straight search at that point, right? It's a whole nother level of addressing this stuff.
Creating something.
You're at that level of personal assistant. Now you're inherently creating a lot of trust in the relationship even though it's a machine thing going on.
Absolutely.
You know, I trust my Google Now Assistant, right? And that creates, yeah, really good opportunities to sell some more stuff.
Fantastic. If you want to find out more information, and how do they?
So a couple of choices. You can email me at eenge@stonetemple.com. Notice how I had to think about that to remember it. Twitter, I'm at Stone Temple. And then on Google Plus, it's plus Eric Enge, which is ENGE is the way the last part is spelled.
Eric, thank you very much. Murray Newlands with Search Engine Journal. I'll see you next time.